This is your official full honest review and report card grade for WWE Hell in a Cell 2020 right here on the JBSN Media Network YouTube channel. Jeff here with you. It took place from the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, or as they're called at the Thunderdome. Let's just get right into the card here. They had one match on their pre-show kickoff. It was for the 24/7 title. We had R-Truth defending the 24/7 title against Drew Gulak. It really is something how far Drew Gulak has fallen to be relegated to doing this garbage here. So, as the match got underway, Gulak did some comedy, and I'm using that in quotes, and I'm also using the word comedy very loosely. They did a little thing here with Little Jimmy. Of course, Little Jimmy's invisible at the start of the match. Very cringe here. I didn't like any of it. I guess they were going for comedy. I thought this just felt very flat. Match does not go very long. It's basic back and forth action here. R-Truth winds up winning in about 6 minutes with a roll-up. Really nothing special about the match here. It's just a darn shame that Drew Gulak has to be relegated to doing stuff like this, and instead of giving this guy something better to do, he's relegated to doing this garbage. So, R-Truth wound up retaining. Tozawa and the Lucha House Party from Raw came out afterwards to do the chase, but R-Truth was able to get away, so... And he won in about 6 minutes. I gave the match a D. Very nothing about it. Nothing special about it. In all honesty, this didn't even need to happen. This was just a way to get him on the show. We move on to the main portion of the card. They jerked the curtain here by opening the main portion of Hell in a Cell with the WWE Universal Championship I Quit match inside of the Hell in a Cell. We had Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion, of course, out with Paul Heyman taking on Jey Uso here. This is a follow-up to their last match and the story they've been telling on television here leading up to this match. So they go to have this match here. It's Roman getting the vast bulk of the offense here. Jey Uso gets a good bit of offense in, but Roman definitely got more than 50% of the offense in the match. Jey Uso at points hit 2 big frog splashes, but of course, since it's an I Quit match, you can't pin him here, and that was clearly not going to be enough to make Roman Reigns quit. Roman Reigns, at various points in the match, wound up hitting 3 big spears, but again, none of those were enough to keep Jey Uso down and make him quit. They each take turns using a strap on one another at points during the match. We even see Jey Uso using the strap as a choke as part of a submission, but Roman Reigns did not give up. He wound up almost passing out, but he did not give up. And in this match, you had to have the words "I quit" actually muttered, I guess. Them doing whatever it is, passing out, would not be enough. They actually had to utter the words. So we just get very late in the match here. Roman's got everything under control here. He's just taking liberties here with Jey Uso, really just doing numbers on him, doing devious, hideous things here to try to get him to submit. Jey Uso would not quit. The referee, they had the deal here where they turned up the audio for what was going on in the ring here. You can clearly hear everything that was going on. The referee hilariously kept asking Jey Uso if he gave up, and they just kept going back and forth here. Eventually, Roman's got him in the submission. I think he's got him in the in a not a triangle choke, but in a submission maneuver. It looks like Jey Uso is going to pass out. He doesn't say the words "I quit." Ultimately, eventually, Jimmy Uso winds up running into the ring. The cage had been opened here. They were going to do a number with with Roman hitting the stairs on Jey. The referees came in to try to stop it, the officials. So the cage was open here. Jimmy Uso was able to eventually work his way in to protect him. It looks like Roman's, they wanted you to believe that Roman was sorry and, guilty and upset for everything he'd been doing to Jey Uso, but you all knew where this was going. It was all a trap. And he winds up putting Jimmy Uso in the submission move. Jey eventually works his way up, and he ultimately utters the words "I quit" only to protect his brother Jimmy Uso from being choked out or whatever not. So that was it. So Roman Reigns does win the match here. This goes about 30 minutes here, and he won here. And afterwards, as he left, we saw Sika and Alpha, the father figures, obviously up on the stage there. This was kind of a passing of the torch moment here. The cement Roman Reigns as the head of the table there for the Samoan dynasty. Of course, we all know it's The Rock, by the way, but The Rock's not around right now. But say what you want. So that was kind of a passing of the torch moment. And the belief is that Jimmy and Jey Uso will eventually just fall in line with Roman Reigns and are going to do this. Roman Reigns, he's going to be leading this dynasty, the Samoan dynasty, the stable. That's getting a lot of rumor and talk, so looks like we may start to see that this week on SmackDown, perhaps. I gave the match a B. It was a good match, a very good match. I didn't think it was a great match. I had to take points off because, for me, there was just too much plotting and stalling here, too much talking for my liking. I didn't like that. I didn't like all the plotting that was going on here. I need to see action going on here. I didn't like a lot of that plotting, especially in the later part of the match. And, and the Hell in a Cell cage itself is supposed to keep people out, but yet Jimmy Uso winds up getting in the cage here. So, I mean, I didn't like that. I had to take points off for that, but it's still a very good match. I didn't think it was a great match, though. I gave it a B, a solid B here, but there's just some things they could have done a little bit better. But Roman Reigns winning and retaining here was not a surprise. I think everyone had expected him to win and retain anyway, so that's what we had there. Next up, we had the cool-down match here. We had Jeff Hardy taking on Elias here. This is, again, they're starting up all this junk again about how Elias got hit with the car, and he keeps saying it's Jeff Hardy, even though clearly it was mentioned on television that Sheamus was the one who did it. Hence, Jeff Hardy and Sheamus had that bar fight match, which was supposed to be the blow-off to this whole thing here, which Jeff Hardy won. But now, they're just pretending that none of that ever happened, and like everyone has amnesia or something. So, this was just a cheap, lazy way to get him back on TV. So they go to have this match. There's really nothing special about this match. Elias gets most of the heat in on Hardy as the match goes on, but Hardy gets some of his stuff out here. There's really not much. We just get to the end here. They're both to the outside. Elias is going for his guitar to use on Hardy. Hardy was able to block it, and Jeff Hardy just wails Elias with the guitar right over the back for the disqualification, right in front of the official here. So Elias wins the match by disqualification in about 7.5 minutes. Clearly, this program is going to continue. Really no reason why they needed to even have this match here on the pay-per-view. They could have just done this on television. There was nothing redeeming about this. I gave it a D. I had picked Hardy to win, but Elias wound up winning by DQ, which means they're going to get another match. They're going to keep this program going. There's really nothing special about this. Like I mentioned, this is just a way to get Elias back on TV. They really have no big plan for him. I know he's got a new single CD, single music or whatever coming out, which is fine here, which they've been promoting as well. And they did it on the kickoff there. He did a song with Jeff Jarrett there, kind of poking fun at him a little bit. But again, really nothing special about this. They're going to continue this. I gave it a D. Elias won by disqualification. Nothing more to say about it. Next up was the match between Otis and The Miz. The winner of the match gets the Money in the Bank briefcase here. This came as a result of the lame-ass thing they did on SmackDown with the Law and Otis stuff here. Just complete cringe here. The only redeeming things about this was seeing Ron Simmons and Teddy Long making a cameo, and Ron Simmons there was the bailiff. So it was the only redeeming thing about it. Other than that, it was just lame-ass comedy here. Didn't really care for it on SmackDown. And JBL was the judge, quote-unquote, here, and he sided with The Miz here, and hence, I guess he has executive power to make matches here because he's a judge, so that's how this all came about here. They go to have the match. Again, there's not much about this. It's basic back and forth here. Morrison, at one point, tries to go to nail Otis with the briefcase, almost does it, but referee Jess Carr caught him and wound up ejecting him from ringside, so it looked like Otis had the advantage here. Otis looked like he was getting ready in position to put The Miz away to retain the Money in the Bank briefcase. But wouldn't you know that Tucker wound up turning on Otis here. This was not a surprise here. He wound up hitting him in the back with the briefcase. And The Miz looked very shocked here. I guess he clearly didn't expect it. But Tucker turned on him here. This was not a surprise. And The Miz wound up winning after that. So he got the win at 7 minutes and 32 seconds. So The Miz is now the Money in the Bank briefcase holder here. He holds the contract for a future WWE title shot. I thought maybe perhaps they would have Otis win and retain for a little bit longer and hold it for just a little bit longer, but we all knew eventually they were going to get it off of him because clearly they were never going to have him challenge for any of the top titles here. So this way you put it on The Miz here. He's held it before, and it is what it is. It went 7:32. Tucker turning on Otis was not a surprise. They had already had split up Heavy Machinery here. I think a lot of people had suspected that maybe they would get them back together here. But again, this was not a big surprise. They had already split them up. Otis is on SmackDown, Tucker's on Raw. So I guess they're going to have a program, but I don't know how they're going to do that unless, the brand-to-brand invitational, the wild card rule. But still, not a big surprise in my opinion. So that was it. So they did a deal backstage where we saw Otis and Tucker fighting afterwards when The Miz was cutting a promo and all that, I gave the match a C-. Really, this was very academic stuff here. Not a big surprise with Tucker doing the heel turn on Otis here. Next up was the WWE SmackDown Women's title match here inside Hell in a Cell. Bayley and Sasha Banks. What a match this was. This was easily the best match on the entire show. I don't care what anybody says here. Sasha was able to knock Bayley's chair out of her hand before the cell had lowered her, so she had lost her magical chair here. So they go on to have the match here. Weapons galore here. They wind up using kendo sticks. We see tables. We see chairs being used. All sorts of weapons. A fire extinguisher got used at one point as well. Just basic stuff here. Not basic, but this was great storytelling. Back and forth action here. Both women looked absolutely tremendous here. This was just outstanding. I don't think this was quite as good as their NXT TakeOver match in Brooklyn all those years ago, but this was very close. They just told a wonderful story here. At one point, Sasha Banks did her Meteora spot on the outside off onto a table, through a table. Also, that was just great here. So she hit a Meteora a few times here. Like I said, they wound up using a fire extinguisher at one point, and then ultimately Bayley was able to get her chair back late in the match here as they go back and forth here. She's trying to go use the chair, this magical chair, but yet there's chairs all over the place here in this match. But she goes to this magical chair that has the X mark on it, and she goes to nail Sasha with it. Sasha was able to duck it. And ultimately, she was able to put Bayley into the bank statement with the assist of the chair. Poetic justice, I could say. And she was kind of stomping on the chair to drive home the point here. And sure enough, Bayley tapped out, and that was it. At 26 minutes and 12 seconds, so a little more than 26 minutes, Sasha Banks is the new SmackDown Women's Champion here. This is the first time she's ever held the title. She's been the Raw Women's Champion before. But this, believe it or not, is her first time ever holding the SmackDown Women's title, which I'm actually surprised. I figured she had held it at least once before. But that was it. So Bayley's 1 year plus reign of SmackDown Women's Champion is over. So Sasha Banks does win it here. Just a wonderful story told here by these two. This was outstanding. I gave this an A. The only little nitpick here, I guess, the use of the magical chair, as I call it, with the X on it. Okay, I get it. It's supposed to have these magical powers, I guess, but I don't know. It's one of those little nitpick things. But other than that, these two told a hell of a story. This was great stuff. They planned this out beautifully, and they really delivered. This was easily the best match of the entire show. I gave it an A. Just wonderful stuff. If there's one match on this show you want to go back and watch, it is this match. This is what should have main evented Hell in a Cell, not the main event that we actually got, which I'll talk about here in a moment or so. But this was great. Next up, we had a U.S. title match here. We had Bobby Lashley taking on a member of the Retribution. This came as a result of what happened on the pre-show when we had Mustafa Ali lay out a challenge for the Hurt Business to have one of their guys challenge one of their guys. And Mustafa Ali said that the Hurt Business can pick whoever they want to take on whoever they want from Retribution. So we found out this would be a U.S. title match as Bobby Lashley took on Slapjack, a.k.a. Shane Thorne, under a mask here. Not much to say about this match. This is a match again that did not need to happen. Just more dirt being thrown on Retribution here. This was pretty much a squash here. A little bit of offense by Shane Thorne, Slapjack, whatever you want to call him. But Lashley dominates here and won with a full Nelson Hurt lock here and got the win in 3 minutes and 51 seconds. This was a squash, more or less. Retribution does come out to attack afterwards. Did the Hurt Business runs them off. So a little more dirt on Retribution here. I gave this an F. Really did not need to have this. You could have just done this on Raw. You didn't need to have it here. Really, this was nothing very special at all. Your final match here, what was the main event, was the WWE title match inside Hell in a Cell, the third of the 3 Hell in a Cell matches here. We had Drew McIntyre defend the WWE title against Randy Orton. They initially brought outside before the bell rang. They worked their way around the cage here before the match started. They eventually did work their way back into the cage. The match finally got underway. They just go back and forth here. Both guys get their heat in for a while here. They just do a deal here where Orton eventually has the bolt cutters here. We saw this on Raw when McIntyre used the bolt cutters. This time, it was Randy Orton using the bolt cutters to unlock the cage and able to escape. He winds up going on top of the cell. McIntyre eventually does follow him. Didn't really do anything too crazy on the top here. Orton at one point hit McIntyre with a steel pipe that was conveniently placed up there. So That was really the bulk of what they did up there. They didn't do anything high fly off the top of the cell. Now they were working their way down the side of the cell towards where the announced position is, and they do the big spot here. They have McIntyre. McIntyre eventually gets thrown off or hit off the side of the cell, about 10 feet or so up, and he crashes and burns through the announce table there. So they really trying to make this a holy crap moment here. I wasn't really feeling it. So eventually they work their way back in. They just keep going at it for a while, and then ultimately they just go back and forth some more. And eventually Randy Orton was able to get Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre hit his Claymore at one point, but could not get the win with it. Randy Orton was able to escape. Randy Orton was able to hit the RKO, and he got him. He got him with it and got the win here. 30 minutes and 25 seconds. A little more than 30 minutes here. Randy Orton, to the absolute shock of no one, I think everyone had expected he was going to win this match because he'd been losing a lot here on pay-per-views recently, been jobbing a lot. So him winning here was not a surprise. I figured he was going to. He got the win at 30 minutes and 25 seconds here to win the WWE, to win his 14th WWE Championship title. So that was it. I gave the match a C. I thought this was easily the weakest of the 3 Hell in a Cell matches here. I did not like the pacing in this match either. Again, too much plotting for my liking. I don't know, it wasn't enough action here. There was really nothing interesting about it. I thought this was very basic run-of-the-mill stuff here. Just too much of a slow pace for my liking. But Orton winning was not a surprise, so that was it. So he got the win, and that's how they went off the air. There was no cash in from The Miz, by the way. I think some people had suspected maybe he would cash in on Orton because it was like 10 years ago, almost to the time, when The Miz had cashed in on Randy Orton and wound up winning the title. Some people thought maybe there would be a cash in. No cash in here from The Miz. So Randy Orton is the new WWE champion, and of course we're going to see him on Raw. Of course, if you're listening to this as part of my podcast this week, we already have an idea what's going to be happening there, but that's it. Randy Orton is the champion for the 14th time, and that's how they went off the air. So my overall thoughts here, my official grade. Let's go into my official grade. My official report card grade for WWE Hell in a Cell 2020 is a C. Outside of the Bayley-Sasha Banks Hell in a Cell match, and I guess you could say the Roman Reigns Jey Uso Hell in a Cell match, those were pretty good matches. I thought the rest of the show was either average or below average. My official grade, like I said, is a C. I thought overall this was a very middle-of-the-road show outside of the 2 of the 3 Hell in a Cell matches that were actually pretty good. Other than that, really nothing special about this show. Yeah, they switched the title with Sasha winning and with Randy Orton winning, and I guess The Miz winning the briefcase, but I don't know, it just felt it was really nothing. There was some special stuff, like I mentioned, with the 2 Hell in a Cell matches, but the rest of the show just kind of fell flat to me. So my official grade is a C for Hell in a Cell 2020. Let me know down in the comments section below what your favorite match was, and if you agree with my grade, we'll see you the next time for the next review here on YouTube. Bye for now, everyone.